Computer. All right. So I think we're live. Yeah, great. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to ONOS TST. It's a public and recorded meeting. This one we're going to discuss specifically a topic with ONOS Classic that is related to duplicated events on devices. And I will let Charles take it over from here and maybe describe in more detail and drive it in that way. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. So I guess the main issue here is that in the past, the QA team found an issue that since our device store is based on a eventually consistent store, meaning that whenever one instance receive an update, it won't, the information won't be propagated to all the instances immediately. So that caused an issue where a device is added on one instance, but the device added event is kind of delayed on the rest of the instances. So one of the fixes that we put in by the time is to send a unicast message to all other instances when a device is added. But this solution basically created a problem that when the store is eventually get synced, we will get another device added event again. So basically what happened in one of our use cases is that when we found a device added event, the device driver will get initialized. And then when we see a second device added event, that driver will get initialized again. So the problem is that in one of the OFDPA driver, we need to reinitialize some of the internal group handler data structure. And if the initialize is triggered again due to duplicated device edit event, then there is a race condition, a very short time period that the second time is trying to reinitialize it, so it wipe out the data structure. So it throw a no prior exception, and causing a lot of trouble. So that's issue one. And the issue two is that all the apps, including SIM routing, will also receive a duplicated device add event. So it's going to kind of reprogram or reinitialize the device or internal data structure 2 times. And if the app is not protected well, then this kind of behavior is kind of unexpected and could cause some issues over there. So that's basically what we found recently.
I see, right. So yeah, and this is basically resulting from an overcorrection, because in the past we were actually missing events because the unicast message was being sent only to non-master node. And I think that that was resulting in not delivering, sometimes not delivering the event. I see. So
so one of the possible solution I have thought before, that I would like to make this argument or assumption that if you look at all the ONOS use cases today, since we almost focus on edge, we don't really need a large number of devices. There is no use case no use cases today that has a large number of devices. So I'm thinking, is it possible that we actually change this to use a consistent map-based store? Does that make sense to you guys?
I mean, it's something that we should certainly be able to consider. I wonder how difficult it would be to run an experiment where we swap in a store that's based on a consistent map. Because traditionally, because of the fairly evolved primitive for distributed maps, the stores that are based on distributed maps are fairly concise in their implementation. So that might certainly be worth it. Now, we might see a drop in some performance numbers with respect to reacting to topologic changes. But but I think for devices it should be fine, right? Because I think mostly where we would see mutations would be in terms of the structure of the graph, which is not necessarily the vertices in it, but the edges are probably going to be mutating in much higher rate when ports up and ports down are discovered. And that's generally how we test the performance of the system anyway, how in response to how it reacts to topology events. So it might definitely be worth a try to do what you suggest. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, I think you're right. So yeah, it should be pretty easy to at least implement like a proof of concept and see how it works. And yeah, I agree with everything you said. I don't think it will affect latency, but I don't think that's really that important. And we definitely don't need like scale for the device.
Do we have a rough idea what would be the added latency if we switch to a consistent map for the case, for example, when a device goes down and we need to react to that type of failure?
So since the store is so small, I don't think it will be very noticeable at all. Actually, I mean, you're talking about maybe, I mean, still like 1 millisecond latencies for events to be propagated. But I mean, latency becomes a much bigger issue if we're trying to stick a lot of stuff in the store. But in this case,
yeah. So right. So we currently, so the device store contains information about the devices themselves and the ports, the port state, right? The devices, their availability, and the port state. So the port state is something that can fluctuate much more. And whether or not we should put the ports under the umbrella of the consistent store also, or whether we should just put the inventory of the devices underneath that. I think that's something that we could decide. Probably would be simpler if you could put both underneath there. But that's where probably if you were to put ports under the consistent state, the port state, that might, because there's going to be higher cardinality of the port state, right? That might impact the latency more than the devices themselves.
So the status of the port, the up-down status is probably, it's better to be in a consistent part. But I think the counter and the statistic, and then the numbers that get periodically updated, that can be still kept in a eventually consistent form.
I agree. Yeah, for sure, because that there's no.
Yeah, because the port also generate the port events, right? So that's going to have the same issue with the device event, I guess.
Yeah. So is this something? Is this something that you would have the time to do, Charles? Is it something that you would want to experiment with, or would you prefer that that's something that somebody else on the team takes a look?
To me, it's more like a low priority, because as I say, my driver and my app already have this protection built in, so it's not causing a real trouble right now. But it's just a little bit confusing for other developer to see duplicated event coming up, right? So to me, this is like a low priority. I can definitely do some experiment, but definitely it's very low priority in my backlog.
Mm-hmm.
Or if someone else want to pick it up and do it, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wonder also, we do have some university interns coming up in the next couple of months, right? So I wonder if this would be possibly a project for them. Of course, I don't know. It may be that their interest might lie primarily in the networking area rather than kind of more on a core software side. So I'm not sure whether that would be something that would be terribly excited to work on, but I suppose that's a possibility.
Oh yeah, sometimes we get some interns do seem interested in working in this stuff, so maybe we'll get one of them. But Pierre and I are also working on some other stuff related around the device store, so maybe we will want to take this on. We're still talking about what we're doing to fix the master shifting, but it might also be the case that this would benefit us in fixing the master shift issue that Pierre and I are working on.
Yeah. Okay. So can I leave that kind of in your realm then, Jordan,
Yeah.
for you to work with Pierre, and and prioritize it accordingly to with the rest of the things that are on your plate, like the Iran stuff and things like that. So since it's not something that's terribly pressing, at least for Charles. I mean, we should definitely take a look at it, but we don't necessarily need it to derail the other plans that are already on your list.
Okay.
All right. So, is that so that's pretty much it then, Charles, right?
Yep. I'll probably start writing a document just to keep a record of what we have discussed today. So in case this get delayed, and then we can still remember what we discussed today.
Sure. Now, do you mind sharing with the TST group, and we can link it to the notes, to the collateral for this meeting, and so that it can stay on a wiki page linked up.
Sure,
so we can always come back to it that way, since we're really not going to have any slides for this, so this can serve as a post-mortem meetings.
Okay.
That'd be great. So other than that, do we have any other topics that we should discuss while we're in person here?
That's all I have.
All right. Because two days from now, just a quick reminder, which is Thursday, we're gonna have a design review for the ONOS RIC controller, for the SD-RAN project. But that'll be solely devoted to the design review, so there won't be any other topics discussed there. Andrea, you were gonna say something. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yes, I was just making sure that everybody knows about the patch I merged related to the disconnected devices. So basically, we found a workaround to allow the display of flows for disconnected devices. This is only a temporary workaround until Pierre and Jordan work on the mastership, and probably myself and John will be pulled into a persistent mastership for the devices. So that's, and the fix basically consists in looking at the local state if there is a number of replicas equal to the number of nodes, bigger or equal to the number of nodes in the cluster. Thanks for Jordan and Tom and Pierre for taking a look at that, merging it. So that was just an update for everybody. If you see a different behavior by getting the flows, that allows you to get the flows even on a disconnected device without purge and disconnect, that's why.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and also the release thing. Last night I found an issue with Atomics. So I was up until like 4 in the morning.
Yeah, Andrea told us.
And I was totally unsuccessful, but I'm gonna take another stab at it. But I think I know what's wrong. So it's just like the Java ecosystem evolved a lot since we slowed down doing releases. So I'm like having issues releasing. But I think I gotta figure out something.
Do you suspect you'll have it worked out, or what do you want?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what the problem is. I was just
okay.
In a hurry last night and ran out of time. So.
All right. Well, let us know if you think there's then we need to look for a plan B for the release.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if for some reason this doesn't work out, I'm fine with backing it out and going.
Yeah, the plan B for the release would basically be backing up Jordan's, at least from the SIBA team, would be backing up Jordan's changes and releasing something now that does not address fully the issues that both him and Jono were seeing in the distributed aspects, and then doing 2.3 or 2.3 in some time from now when these are worked out to allow us full clustering. We're not going to use the full clustering right now. It's just if we have it in this release, it's a lot less painful to us to just release the apps that we take care of in SIBA and not have to do another ONOS release in the future.
No, makes complete sense. Yeah, got it.
Which would be fine, but I think I should have this done this morning.
All right. Well, great. Well, hopefully you'll get some sleep then.
I put in a speculative fix for the build problem. The archetype build is bringing, Carmelo had fixed it, and for some reason in all the cherry picks we did, the fix got somehow changed. So I'm hoping what I put in now will work. I'm doing an RC build, but obviously it's going to be not going to work because of the other problems, but at least I want to make sure that the build part of it is correct.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. And then if that works, we probably also need to carry it forward to master, because it's quite possible that since I was working in the same area, I might have one of my changes could have walked right over Carmelo's. It's quite possible.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, I'll check. It looks to me like it's correct in 2.2 and not correct. Sorry, it's correct in 2.3, not correct in 2.2 in master. If this works, I'll put this change back in master, and then hopefully we won't have to deal with it again.
Okay. All right. All right. So I think we can probably call it done for today, unless there are additional topics and people can have the rest of their 40 minutes off. All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks everybody. Charles, when you set up the document, please send me the link and I'll link it to the meeting and posted video recording.
All right.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.